like in college football, I don't think that we know anything more in the NFL after watching these teams play this past Sunday than we did already a week ago. I mean, the Raiders, they beat the Colts, but really kind of at what cost? And I think there are a lot of people out there that are very tired of Vontaze Burfict, and there are a lot of people out there that do not believe he should be in the NFL. And I think for them, not only was it a case in point this past weekend against the Colts, and that's why he's reportedly being suspended, but a lot of people are beginning to blame him for that hit on Antonio Brown and just saying, he really hasn't been the same since. I don't know. I don't know at what point a brain gets permanent damage from what hit, from whatever the case may be. I literally have no clue whatsoever. I don't know. I know that my father had Parkinson's, and this is just the best way that I can relate it. And back in 2013, he fell back and he had brain hemorrhaging and all kinds of stuff going on. And it just seemed like after that, he really wasn't the same. And so maybe, I don't know. I'm not saying there was brain hemorrhaging and things like that from that hit from Vontaze Burfict. But, my dad fell straight back and landed his head right on the ground. And did not even recognize my sister when, she went to go see him at the hospital. And so you look at that and you go, maybe there is something that's going on. And so Vontaze Burfict right now is kind of he is a villain to people in the NFL. And look, I've kind of stood up for him a lot of times. This is the game of football, but I thought that the hit yesterday was very inexcusable. And I thought that the hit on Antonio Brown was very inexcusable. And I don't know. I mean, at what point do you say enough is enough? At what point does the NFL and say maybe somebody shouldn't be playing football in this league anymore? They just don't get it. Obviously, getting them in their wallet, taking away game time, which also gets in their wallet, is just not enough. So what is? I think that these are things the NFL has to start looking at. If you are a repeat offender, it's time for us to decide whether or not we want you in this league. I think that's pretty simple to think about. In terms of the rest of the NFL and what's going on, look, Denver probably could have 2 wins right now, but, back-to-back weeks in which they've had penalties go against them on late-scoring drives. Plus you've got a 17-6 lead over the Jaguars. I'll give credit to Gardner Minshew. Didn't play the greatest game in the world, to be honest with you. I think there's a little too much hype on him. I know he's a cool guy. I know we all want to have beer with him. But he really didn't show me anything until later in that football game. And then, of course, Jacksonville had that long 10-minute sustained drive in the third quarter, which I thought really changed the entire complexity of the football game around. They scored a touchdown on it. That's what you do. You hold on to the football for so long. I've been saying that for eons. You want to get back on a game. You have a long, sustained drive. You make that other team's offense sit on the field, get cold, and you give your defense a good long rest. And then, of course, what happens? Denver goes in. They go 3 and out. So I thought game of the week was a Kansas City-Detroit Lions game. My goodness. I'm telling you what. Kansas City is probably not going to admit to this, but they really should consider themselves lucky for coming out on top of that football game. Look, the first half was pretty entertaining to watch, even though it was low scoring. But the thing was both teams, for the most part, were playing good, clean football. Going into the second half, man alive, that third quarter, it just started getting horrendous to watch these two teams go back and forth with these turnovers after turnover after turnover. It was partly good defense, I'm not going to lie, but it also got to be sloppy football. My thing is simply this. Every Detroit fan in the NFL right now is feeling the pain of the New Orleans Saints. And the Saints couldn't have been more ticked off than what happened with that damn fumble, right? So they get a fumble, Kansas City does, they recovered in their own goal line basically. And you can't really tell if he's down or not. Kansas City picks it up. The refs let it go, and then KC ends up taking it for a touchdown, which ended up being upheld, by the way. And it was such an odd play. I really can't believe that they stuck with that call, to be perfectly honest with you. But more than that, the call that I can't believe was the touchdown that was called back from the Detroit Lions. My goodness. Blatantly, to me, a touchdown. I feel like Kansas City, with the mistakes that they made, because, Detroit got a lot of pressure in that football game on Patrick Mahomes. I mean, they were just after him, and they didn't allow him to play his best football game. Now, having said that, he did what he had to do at the end of the game. John Elway would look poor a lot of times through 3.5 quarters of football, and then he would come on, and Denver would find a way to pull it out. John Elway would start playing great football all of a sudden. It really is odd how some of these guys can do it. And I got to tell you, maybe the play of that drive was Patrick Mahomes going for that first down on 4th and 8. I mean, that was going to be the ball game right there, and he ended up pulling it out. And then, of course, man alive, you got to give it to Travis Kelce for that play back to LaShawn McCoy, who, by the way, am I the only one who noticed that LaShawn McCoy carries the football like it's an antique vase or something? Gee, Minnie, I could never coach a guy that carries a football like that. The entire time I'm watching this dude play football, I'm on the edge of my seat like, what the hell are you doing, man? So I think Kansas City lucky to get away with a win there. The turnovers, the bad plays, the up and down officiating that every team has seen, because we apparently still don't know what a touchdown is. We apparently still don't know what pass interference is or isn't, based off of what we saw in the Philadelphia Eagle Green Bay Packers football game, right? I think Philly should feel good about getting out of there with that victory. I mean, my goodness. And some of those calls did affect the course of the game. They really did. And I got to tell you, I think that Philly should feel fortunate that they got out of there with a victory. The Cowboys last night, a lot of people said they haven't played anybody. The narrative by a lot of people has been, well, you can't control who you play in the NFL, to a degree, yes. First of all, I want to give it, as of the moment, to Terry Bridgewater. I don't think there were many of us that really weren't kind of aching for this kid when initially we found out about everything when he was still with the Minnesota Vikings. There were a lot of us who felt like he should have won the first playoff game that he was ever involved in. I know Adrian Peterson took a lot of heat for that fumble. Regardless of that, you still have to stop him defensively. The point is simply this. Bridgewater, to see him still have the mobility, is he putting up great numbers? No. But he's doing what he's supposed to do, and that is kind of come in, manage the game, be a leader, and, he's using his mobility in situations he's not comfortable with, and he's doing enough offensively right now to help them win football games. He's really giving you exactly what you asked for. Just give us some leadership, give us all you've got. If you're not comfortable, use those wheels. And the fact that he is willing to run the football in these situations, and the fact that he's willing to just say to hell with it, like Chris Collinsworth said, and just, all right, dude, you want to go QB sneak? Let's go, man. I mean, he's playing unafraid football. I mean, that's inspiring to watch, man. It really is. And Dallas didn't show up offensively, but I think that New Orleans did show up defensively. So I think it goes hand in hand. I think it was a little bit of both in this football game. I think there was some bad offense from the Cowboys, but I think there was also some very, very good defense from the New Orleans Saints. And ultimately, I think that's why they won the football game, was defensively they were very good. I guess to close this out, why is body slamming players becoming a thing right now in the NFL? I don't fully understand that. Oh, and then, of course, obviously New England and Buffalo. Look, New England jumps out to a huge lead, right, because they started forcing all those turnovers. I think it was 3 in the first half by Josh Allen, who cleaned it up in the second half, and they did enough to get back into that football game. But, man, Buffalo's defense is really good. I almost feel bad for their defense because it is a championship caliber defense. Kind of offense at all. Not only would they be undefeated right now, but they would have probably put a beat down on New England because Tom Brady, I mean, I was watching the game, and at one point was at 15 out of 35. I mean, they bottled that dude up. And I know that a lot of people may say, well, he didn't practice as much. And, you know, I don't think they were really concerned about Buffalo. And part of it is his age. And folks, there's nothing that Tom Brady hasn't seen. It is execution. And every coach on planet Earth will tell you it is about execution. And that's just the bottom line scenario. It is 100% about execution, as a matter of fact. There are coaches that have quoted a movie, Blue Chips. I'll tell them what we're going to do. I'll send over the game plan because it's not what you do, it's how you do it. Most basic offense in the world, most basic defense in the world should work if I execute properly. If I match up correctly, we should be able to, right? So bottom line is Buffalo manhandled that football team defensively, and New England did just enough. And if it hadn't been for those turnovers early on in that football game, I'm telling you right now, New England is a one-loss football team. And if Buffalo had a decent offense, New England isn't just a one-loss football team. Boy, they'd have got thrashed. They would have been thrashed. Man, that Buffalo defense is good. I mean, they are damn good. So will it be enough to carry them through the rest of the season? They're going to get another crack in New England. We'll see. I hope they're able to figure it out, because I kind of root for this team. I really do. When they had Tyrod Taylor, I loved watching them. And they had a pretty good defense back then. And remember, Denver did not want Tyrod Taylor after he said he wanted to go there, right? And then he burned him bad. Who knows what would have happened if they would have stuck it out a little bit longer with Tyrod Taylor. As of right now, to me, he's a little bit better than Josh Allen, even though he's not a starter in this league. Who knows? This just tells you how complicated it all really is to find a quarterback, isn't it? I mean, doesn't this just prove exactly how hard it is to be a quarterback in this league? I mean, obviously Eli Manning's out there. Who knows? But regardless, that's pretty much your NFL weekend, guys. I am Drew Duncan, host of the Full Court Press. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is all at Drew Duncan 83. You can find me on YouTube. Simply look for Drew Duncan. The Full Court Press is on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. And do not forget, we are wherever you listen to podcasts. Simply tell your device to play the Full Court Press by Drew Duncan. And as always, don't you dare touch that dial.